Hey, what's up, everyone? Kwame Warner, Bitcoin Blockheads, USI Tech Global Team, and I just want to welcome everybody to this presentation. Welcome to the Bitcoin Revolution. We're going to dive in and talk about some really cool stuff. There's going to be some of you guys on this call tonight that are familiar with cryptocurrency and some of you that may not be familiar with cryptocurrency. So what I want to do is just start at A and go to Z, if that's okay with you guys. We're going to cover what Bitcoin is, what's a Bitcoin wallet, how do I buy Bitcoin, where can I use Bitcoin, but more importantly, I know a lot of you are on this watching this presentation because you want to know how you can make money with Bitcoin, right? All right, awesome. And then we're going to dive into a little bit about USI Tech and show you how once you acquire Bitcoin, you can leverage it and compound it and really make some massive passive income with this opportunity. So we're going to dive right in, and we're going to start off talking about this whole idea of disruptions, because we hear that Bitcoin is this disruptive technology, right? And so let's just take a look at a few things and how these things have shifted and changed throughout time. Now, back in the day, BlackBerry was king of the smartphone. I mean, BlackBerry was on top of the mountain. I had two of them myself. I had a BlackBerry Curve, and I don't remember the name of the other one, right? But you guys have seen government agencies, city agencies, the everyday consumer. Even kids had Blackberries. I think they called it Crackberry, right? But they were it when it came to smartphones. And of course, when the internet came out, Yahoo dominated the search engine space. I mean, we all saw those commercials, for at least most of us on this line, right? That Yahoo! I think it's about 3 dogs barking right now after I did that. But nonetheless, Yahoo was real popular. Everybody used a Yahoo browser, and we all had Yahoo emails for the most part, right? And of course, MySpace came out, and they taught us this whole idea of social media and how to interact on the net and just share our lives with other people, different important things that were important to us. We'd be able to connect with old friends that we may not have been able to connect with before, we had lost track of. MySpace was the bridge that allowed us to reconnect and share our lives with people that we cared about. And of course, there's the grocery store. I mean, Albertsons, King Soopers, Walmarts. I don't know what the big box retailer is in your region or your neck of the woods, but here in the States, some of the Piggly Wigglies, these are some of the most popular ones. And traditionally, this is where we go and get our groceries from, right? And of course, when it's movie time, it was Blockbuster, baby. We'd go into Blockbuster and we could rent a VHS tape. At least, that's what it was back in my day. It was rent VHS tapes. For many of you, it's probably DVDs. I was there for the transition from VHS to DVD. And of course, when we go on vacation, we stay at a hotel, whether it's the Holiday Inn, the Marriott, the Hilton, whatever it may be. We typically stay at a hotel if it's a special occasion, business trip, so forth and so on. Now, compact discs were a major disruption. They basically just murdered cassette tapes. When compact disc came out, it was the new best thing. Everybody was excited about it. I had to retire my Sony auto reverse Walkman, and I was a CD man after that. And growing up in New York, I would take taxis from time to time. I mean, when you go into foreign countries, you might hail a cab. Even if you're out, you'll grab a taxi to get you to where you want to go. But that was a traditional form of getting around. If we didn't want to take the bus or the train, or if we didn't want to drive, we would hail a taxi cab. But things started to shift and change, didn't it? There came this major disruption that disrupted the smartphone industry. It was called the iPhone. It was a brain seed of Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs came out with this idea that he would create this smartphone that didn't have a keyboard. Now, people were slow to adopt because, I mean, we were all Crackberry heads, right? We were like, nah, give me my keyboard. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't like it. But look at the marketplace now. BlackBerry is pretty much a dinosaur and a thing of the past, and every smartphone pretty much now does not have a keyboard. It's all touchscreen. And of course, Redbox and Netflix came along and they just totally assassinated Blockbuster. They went out of business pretty fast, and these two companies now dominate the space of family entertainment. And of course, Uber and Lyft. I mean, my wife and I went down to Paris and we took Uber just about everywhere to get around the city. Uber and Lyft right now are dominating that space. Taxi cabs, the taxi industry is being threatened big time right now. And of course, Facebook came out and MySpace just floated into oblivion. Mark Zuckerberg had an idea and a concept. He didn't come up with social media, right? But he did it better. He did it in such a way that over 1 billion people agree that it was a needful thing. And it's unfortunate for MySpace that they couldn't dominate that market. And so Mark Zuckerberg was forward thinking, and he created this dynasty with Facebook. And now we've got companies like Airbnb that are threatening the hotel industry. I mean, you could go anywhere in the world right now and rent a room or rent an apartment or rent a home for the weekend, somewhere tropical or somewhere cold. If you're into that sort of thing, you want to go skiing, you could do that. And of course, iTunes, there's Steve Jobs again. He revolutionized the way that we listen to music, the way that we watch movies, the way that we read books. iTunes changed the landscape of the entertainment industry. And I mean, no one buys compact discs anymore that I know of. It's all MP3 downloads, right? And we don't even say MP3s anymore because iTunes changed all of that. And of course, there's Amazon.com. I mean, when that company first started, everybody was laughing at them. They said, you're going to sell books online? You're going to fail. You're going to fail miserably. I remember Borders was ridiculing Amazon.com, and now Borders is out of business. And Amazon is just dominating, not only selling books, but everything you could think of, from household good to tires, clothes, you name it. And recently they just acquired Whole Foods, a grocery store. So now they're threatening the big box retailers. Walmart and the Kroger companies are shaking in their boots. And of course, Google came out and they just put Yahoo on a slow death. I mean, if you ask me a question and I didn't know the answer to it, I'm not going to tell you go Yahoo it. What am I going to say? Google it, right? So that's pretty much what we see happening in the landscape. These technologies are disrupting everything. And of course, Apple is back with Apple Pay, which they're changing the way that we interact and we do business. They're changing the way that we pay for things. And this is a perfect segue to get into what we're going to be talking about tonight. And of course, we got Android, Android Pay. I don't know who uses that, but I'm sure many of you probably do. But this is a perfect segue to talk about the next major financial disruption. And that is the way that we look at money and what currency is, what money is. Here's Bitcoin, and they are totally changing the financial landscape. So what is Bitcoin and who made it? Where did it come from? Those are some of the things we're going to address. So let's take a look and kind of like keep it simple. So Bitcoin was actually created in 2008 by someone by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. We don't know whether it's a man, a woman, a group of people. It's probably just a pseudonym. But Satoshi Nakamoto saw a need, and in 2008 he created this white paper with this idea of a cryptocurrency. And it was launched in 2009. Now here's what's interesting. This was launched at the heart of an economic collapse in 2008. Banks were going bankrupt. I mean, if you can imagine that. Wall Street were getting these huge bailouts and people were losing their homes. So in the heart of an economic collapse, this guy launched a concept, an idea of a cryptocurrency. Either he was nuts or a genius and knew something that we didn't. And I think it was the latter. Now, as I mentioned before, Bitcoin is definitely a revolution. It's disrupting the financial industry. But here's what it is. Bitcoin is the original and most popular decentralized digital currency. And it's used by all types of people on every continent, every state in the US. People are using Bitcoin. It's super popular, but Bitcoin is the granddaddy of them all. And if I was to just really reduce it to the ridiculous, I'll just tell you this. Bitcoin is simply digital cash that you could send or receive through the internet. And the fact is this is not really a new concept to us, because here in the United States, only 8% of our money is even minted. The rest of it is just ones and zeros on someone's computer. Think about it. When we go to a bank, we don't take cash and just put it on a carrier pigeon and send it over to where we need to send it to. It's a wire, right? And that wire is just ones and zeros going through the ether, going through a frequency and to another computer terminal, and boom, voila, there it is. So just think of it as digital cash. So what's some of the benefits of Bitcoin? Well, number one, there are no middlemen, which is central banking. There's no one that gets in between us doing a transaction because it's totally peer-to-peer. The transactions are pretty fast, and there are minimum transaction fees. The coolest part about it is that you can send Bitcoin anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet signal or a cell phone signal. Now, here's the thing that I really love. Because there's no middleman and it's peer-to-peer, your Bitcoins are controlled by you and you alone. No one can ever prevent you from sending or receiving Bitcoin. So you have, in essence, become your own bank. And here's another benefit. The Bitcoin network is always on. It doesn't close on holidays. It doesn't take a vacation. It never sleeps. You don't have to wait till 9 o'clock or till when the drive-through window's open. You can transact business at any time of the day because the network is always on. The other cool thing is that it has an appreciating value. We've seen some pullbacks, but it's been on an upward trend since its launch in 2009. It's been constantly going up and up and up and up. And people are saying it's a bubble, it's a bubble, it's a bubble. Well, I'm going to ride the bubble if it's a bubble. The last benefit that I like to mention is that it's anonymous. The transactions are anonymous. When you purchase something online, you got to put in your name, your address, your phone number, your credit card number, the CVV code, the expiration date on the credit card, and a pint of blood. I mean, you got to give it all up, right? With Bitcoin, it's just a series of letters and numbers that are being sent to another series of letters and numbers with no person's name attached to those letters and numbers. So it's really cool and it's anonymous. Now, these are some of the places that Bitcoin is currently accepted right now. You can actually buy things on Amazon, not directly, but through a third party with Bitcoin. PayPal buyers accept Bitcoin. Shopify, you can accept Bitcoin. Certain Mercedes-Benz dealerships in California accept Bitcoin right now. Virgin Galactica, you could book a flight on Virgin as well as Expedia. If you log on to Expedia right now and you book a flight and you go to checkout, they'll give you an option of paying with Bitcoin. Overstock.com, Bitcoin is accepted at all those places. And where it's not directly accepted, you can get one of these cards depending on what part of the country you're in. And of course, they have more cards than just this. I particularly use the BitPay card. My wife and I went down to Paris recently, as I mentioned before, and I was able to take my BitPay card and load my Bitcoins on there. And I was able to pull out Euro in Paris, and I was able to pull out USD here in the States. So whatever part of the country you are in, you can use your BitPay card or your Zappo card to pull out that country's currency. That card takes about $25,000. You can load on there and you can pull out about $3,000 a day. And they just simply make it easy for you to spend your Bitcoins wherever Visa or MasterCard are accepted. So Bitcoins are totally liquid. So how do you buy them? How do you get Bitcoin? Well, there's a number of ways. These are some of the most popular platforms. They actually have Bitcoin ATMs that are available. You put in your fiat currency and they will spit you out a little receipt with a wallet code on it for you to access your Bitcoin. You could send it to any wallet you choose to. You could go to places like Blockchain, or Coinbase is probably the most popular one here in the States, and localbitcoins.com. What's really neat about that is you can log on to that website on your computer, put in your zip code, and it'll pull up different people in your area that are selling Bitcoin that you could go and transact business with peer to peer. So it's really a really cool space. So those are some of the places that you can get Bitcoin from, and you could even roll your IRA or your 401k or self-directed IRA over to a Bitcoin IRA, and this company will purchase Bitcoin for you and hold it for you. You could also set up a solo 401k. I know a great company that does that called Sense Financial, and they'll help you set that up, and you're able to purchase cryptocurrencies with your 401. Here's another cool thing. Coinbase, as I mentioned, they're one of the real popular sites in the US. If you type in coinbaseoffercode.com, you get $10 in free Bitcoin when you purchase $100 or more of Bitcoin, and I will too for referring you there. So it's a win-win totally. So just go to coinbaseoffercode.com and you set up a free account, and when you buy $10 worth of Bitcoin, they'll give you, $100 worth of Bitcoin, they'll give you $10 free. So the next thing is talking about what's a Bitcoin wallet. Well, it's generally just a place where you store your Bitcoins, because you got to put it somewhere, right? But technically, you're not actually storing the Bitcoin in a wallet. It's just a private key. Private keys are necessary for accessing your Bitcoin, and your Bitcoin address are stored on a Bitcoin wallet. So you've got these private keys, and these private keys allow you to access the Bitcoin address where your Bitcoin is actually stored, and all that's placed in a Bitcoin wallet. So in general, your wallet's